You were one of the first clients I ever had, like the first people who were like, purpose to profession, let's go. I want you to talk to us about what made you sign up for the program. What was going on in your life and your career?
Yeah, girl, Bengi Goisha. Not even in the least bit. So basically, by the time I got to you, I had been about 6 months into deciding that I've had enough of my current career that I was in at the time. It had been a long time coming. I think I had gotten up to a place where I had basically hit the ceiling, and not because there weren't opportunities, but because I had changed. And so I needed to adjust my external world to fit my internal world and the changes that were taking place. I had become so disillusioned and had, when they say in a restaurant, never go to the kitchen because you won't eat the food.
Yeah.
I had literally gotten to that place where I had seen how things actually work and seen the mechanism, and I was like, no, can't be me. This can't be me. And so I wanted and I yearned so much for alignment. I felt so disorientated. I felt so disappointed. I felt so disillusioned. And I just needed to know that I'm not crazy, firstly, that I'm not crazy, that I'm not asking for too much,
Mm.
and that I don't have to settle because I'm trying to put food on the table. So by the time I kind of got recommended to you, which was so incidental. I knew that I needed something, but I couldn't articulate what it was that I needed at the time. And I mentioned to someone in passing, and they said, "Hey, I know a person."
Yeah,
And
our
I was like,
mutual friend.
"Nah, man, that sounds about right." Yeah, they were like, "That sounds about right." So I was like, "Okay, let me check it out." And I looked through your Instagram page, and I was like, "Yes, yes, yes, yes." So yeah, so I really just felt really trapped. I knew that I wanted different, but I couldn't put my finger on what that different would look like. And like I had no plan. I didn't have a strategy. I didn't even know where to from where I was. But I knew I wanted out. And I knew I had to establish myself firstly that I wanted to move towards something and not away from something. So once I got over that, I realized that okay, I'm ripe and ready to hop on board and to have someone help me figure out where to from here. So yeah.
And then purpose to provision began. Talk to me about your experience, your light bulb moments. And it's so fascinating
Oh,
because of almost all my clients, you are the one that sends me. I think you and I started working together 2021, if not 2021, right?
2021, yes.
It's how
Yeah, it
many
was
years
COVID.
later? And you still text me like you don't know what you did for me with that program. And I'm like, Vanessa,
Like
3 years later, what do you mean? So talk to me
I
about your
literally
experience in the
I
program.
mean it every single time.
Tell me, what about it was so transformational for you?
Yeah. So you know how they say it's never one thing, it's always a million little things. And that was exactly the case for me. Like P2P was so catalytic, like it was unbelievable. Like it was literally like that kick out of the nest moment for me. All of a sudden the veil was lifted and I could see what was ahead, what was on the other side of my fears, of my anxieties, of my lack of plan and strategy, or like the way that you broke everything down to like timelines. And like I still remember there was this one worksheet that absolutely blew my mind. I still refer to it now. I have it literally ingrained as a technique, which is like you break down all the milestones. Like you have your monthly milestones, and then you have like your daily doses of stuff. And I was just like, yes, yeah, that makes so much sense.
Yeah.
So I think it wasn't just a single moment in the program, it was like a number of moments. And the biggest contribution though for me was that it really felt like the beginning of forever. It felt like the beginning of a kind of avalanche that has now bloomed. I think I'm finally 3 years later in a season where I'm starting to reap, like really reap. And yeah, so like it was hopping on the program was that for me. It was the breaking things down to manageable bites that you can actually manage and measure. And more than that, it was just the spirit behind which you delivered the course and the thoughtfulness. Like you saw us, the cohort, um, as actual people that had value, that not only had potential, but like actually had value and something to offer the world if we could just get past whatever it is we thought was holding us back, and how affirming you were and continue to be that you're not crazy for wanting more for yourself, you're not crazy for wanting to have a life that is value driven, that is purpose driven.
Your network is
Wanting a life
sabotaging you.
that you can make and mold, uh, and it doesn't have to look like one hour. Give me what missions we're giving it, and that for me like was a game changer, absolutely game changing for me.
Your network is really, really, really betraying you, and it's stealing such an important moment from us. But now I'm curious about the reaping that you're experiencing, because people want to, like, they want to know if this thing really works and what is the work that it has produced. So tell us about, because very shortly after you graduated from the program, you left your lecturing job. I'm like, this girl.
I did.
And you did. Talk to us about the
I really
transition
did.
then in pivoting your career and what it looks like now. I see the work you do every day, and I'm just like, oh, oh. Talk to us about that.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Oh my word. So immediately after I graduated, 3 months later, I was like, no, I feel confident. I'm still high on the ecstasy of believing I can take over the world, and truly, I could. Turns out, and I left my job. I was actually saying to a friend of mine that it I dread having to have this conversation with my academic mentors because they don't see what I see and they don't know what I know about myself. And they don't see my heart. They just see, okay, look, we can fast track you on this path. This is what you can do. This is what, and it's wonderful to have people like that around you because you always know people want the best for you and they kind of lead you in the direction that seems like the best. But you can't, you have to be okay with disappointing people to follow your purpose. That's just a fact. And like to have the courage to do that means you have to firstly have a high self-awareness, but also to have a plan in place and to trust the process. So I left my job, and for about a month and a half, I was like, I don't know what's happening, but I am trusting because I know this is what I need to do. And when I did that, an opportunity that I couldn't imagine came up. This was to move back to a city that I had moved from very grudgingly and heavy heartedly. I got an opportunity to move back, to get into a position that I had been wanting for a very long time. It kind of felt like a going back to move forward kind of thing, but I was at peace. I was so happy with that. And then things started happening. It was like all the doors opened all at once. It was the craziest thing. I got into podcasting, which is something that I had been wanting to do for a long time, and impactful podcasting. I got onto a lot of boards for NGOs, which was like, what is happening? I hopped onto a lot of real grit community building work that was so purposeful, so aligned with my value system. And literally, so part of the reason why you couldn't recognize me is because I think about a year ago, I got onto a directorship position for a company that literally was like, do what you want to do. We trust you. Do what you got to do. Do what you want to do. And it's a neuroscience institute. And I get to develop people. I get to, just last Friday, I was crying my eyes out because I got to make some hires of some young people that had been sitting at home, not knowing where their lives are going. And it's just like, and like moms are sending me messages like, thank you for what you're doing for my children. Thank you for like, and I'm just like, yes, this is the feeling I want to have. This is exactly the feeling I want to have. And I knew that it is there somewhere. It is just behind the fear, and it is right behind not being afraid to disappoint other people. And I literally, yeah, it's just been it's just been so crazy. And it's been so exciting, but also so humbling at the same time because I'm just like, if this is 3 years in, what's gonna happen 13 years from now or 23 years from now? And I'm just like, yeah, let's go. Let's do
Yeah.
this. So it's been really, really it's been everything and so much more. And all because I trusted that my purpose matters. It matters.
Mm.
And I don't have to go hungry to follow it, you know. Just last year, I got to do some exciting work for an international company. I've never made so much money in my life in one go. And I was like, what is going on right now? Like, I was so shocked to the core. And all because I was like, my purpose comes first. The vision comes first. The
Mm.
clarity comes first. The anointing comes first. That's what I'm going to pursue. And everything else will fall into place.
Now,
Absolutely.
when the call started, I asked the people on the webinar, like, what are you most excited for? What is going on? And they're like, Bumi, koninte off. I'm in my career, ne? And it's a prestigious one, but koninte off.
Yeah.
And a lot of
Yeah.
people feel like that, right? And I want you to speak to those who are on this call, like, koninte off. And if you can give me something that will recalibrate, give it to me. What do you want to say to someone like that on this call?
Firstly, I will say definitely without hesitating that your intuition is not lying to you. I think we are just at a place, a lot of us, I definitely know I was at that place where I had become so accustomed to silencing myself that even when my inner voice was screaming so loud, I had gotten into a pattern and a habit of just being like, hi, you know. But eventually, like, you can only say hi so many times, you
Mm-hmm.
know, before it literally starts becoming crippling. And for me, the thing that really pushed me to seek, I don't know, call it help, but to get support was that I had gotten so tired of not trusting myself, you know, and I needed someone to basically mirror and be like, you're not hearing things, you know, you're not imagining things. So, you know, silencing that voice creates such huge distrust in oneself, and your gut feel doesn't lie. I remember one of the things you said to me, and it stuck with me when we did the personality test. One of the things that came up was that I have an instinct to know intuitively in the moment what I need to do. But when we looked at the behavioral pattern, it was that I always delay making the decision because I always think like a million things at once. And I will always have kind of a pessimistic view and think of everything that could go wrong. And when you said that to me, it was like, yeah, no, I hear that. But now, you know, being in the position that I'm in, doing the work that I do, I realized that, geez, that was such a big, like, epiphany light bulb moment, right? And I would not have learned that had I not been in the program. But, you know, it's like, listen to that voice. If you feel something is off, something is off. You might not be able to articulate it in the moment, what it is that isn't quite right, but you know, even though that you don't know what it is, you know, right? And secondly, it's okay to disappoint people. Trust me, no one dies. And the other thing is, the world doesn't stop spinning when you do. Like, it really doesn't. The sun is gonna come out tomorrow. The rain is gonna fall during the rain season. Like, it's not. And I understand. I genuinely am so empathetic. I understand that for a lot of us, the stakes are high. You know, it's not just disappointing your boss who was like, oh, I've got you, you know, like, I can see you already in that position. And, you know, like, for me, it was definitely my academic mentor who pulled strings for me to stay in uni, for me to, like, you know, during my master's, it was like, yeah, let's go, let's go. And they were like, okay, 2 years, we're going in, we're getting a PhD, and it was all of this. And I had to rethink very carefully because I had obviously built emotional attachments with these people. And I could see that they want the best for me. It's not like they were trying to impose anything for me, but they also thought that's what I wanted. So being confident and clear on what it is that I wanted and being okay with letting some people down and trusting that that is sufficient, not to hurt people, obviously, but sufficient to be true to myself, that the highest, that the cost of not being true and authentic to myself is much higher than that 20 or 25 days that someone's upset with you because you know, you're not going according to their plan, is definitely like a cost. It wasn't a price I was willing to pay anymore. And lastly, I will definitely say like, yeah, get the help that you need, get the support that you need when you need it. Some of the things that I learned during my time with you and on the program, like are only clicking now, like only now I'm like, oh, actually, like like I said, like now having to manage people and whatever, like I have to think very carefully about managing personalities, not just the work, but that also means I need to understand how I work, and understand also that Mina, I'm here because I'm like, this is purposeful. I see the value and the contribution. But for other people, it's a paycheck, and that's okay. Like, it's just the nature of it, right? But it has helped me so much to be like, okay, I need to gravitate towards this, need to be able to separate issues, need to do this and do that. And I think it's been one of the most powerful and empowering things that I have taken on. It is one of the things that, people say, make a decision today that your future self will thank you for. This is definitely one of those decisions that my future self from 3 years ago or three, yeah, who is like, yeah, man, you did good there, girl, So I'll definitely say that and highly, highly recommend that. Like, it could be just exactly what you need. But obviously it might not all come together all at once, but it will definitely be exactly the seed that you need, that life will continue to water the more committed you are to yourself, to your truth, to being authentic, to your purpose.
Oh man, that's so beautiful. My final question is, I'm not the only one that speaks on purpose, right? I'm not the only coach out there. I'm not the only one telling people to pivot their careers and stuff. Why would anyone want to sign up for this program with me instead of just going to Usizakele next door, or a Martin from the United States, or a John from the UK? Why this program and why me?
Well, for me, really, I always think of things in threes. So it's just easier for me to remember. And I feel like life works in threes for some reason. But okay. The first thing is that I really appreciated the fact that you had been where I had been, or where I was at the time. Like, that was, I mean, as a scientist, I like to say, yeah, that you don't need experiential evidence for there to be the data to hold water, right? But in this instance, I needed that. I needed someone that knew exactly how I was, not only that didn't only know theoretically where I was, but they knew even how I was feeling being in that space. Because, like, someone that just knows it because it sounds good, or they've read it in a book or have taken a course themselves, like the sense of urgency, the restlessness, they don't get, because you can't manufacture that. That's something that you know from experience, from sitting in that hot seat yourself. So the sense of urgency for me was something that I needed. And I'm like, you having seen that you had gone through that yourself. And that also, can I just say, Bumi, that as someone who is a high achiever, I didn't just want someone who was like, no, I left my job, I wasn't quite sure. No, I needed someone who had high stakes, like I had high stakes, and they also was like had to make a proper sacrifice. So I needed that relatability. Uguti, I knew I could trust your voice and on this, because you had walked the path, and also because you had literally moved all your eggs into one basket, and that was backing yourself. So one of the things that was hard for me at the beginning was, like I said, I had become so accustomed to silencing my voice that I didn't trust it, to lead me in the right path. I didn't trust it. So I didn't back myself. That's just the plain truth. I didn't back myself. So I needed someone that I could see. She backed herself. And she wasn't afraid to fail, even though failure was a risk and a possibility, and she wasn't afraid to fail. So it was that you had lived that truth. And secondly, it was because the course was so structured. Oh my gosh, yes, guys, like, oh, I don't like oh.
And you know what's funny? You were probably in like the second or third cohort. The people who are coming in now, oh my gosh, it is so much better. I even feel bad for you guys. I'm like, should I put them on this learning platform just for the better experience? So they are having it way better than you guys. I think a lot of the sessions with you, we were recording live, right? Now
Yes,
they've got
yes.
it's so revamped. It is so enhanced. You would not be able to recognize it.
Wow. Well, firstly, congratulations. Again, another reason why, because you believe in progress. Stagnation is not your cup, my sister. And I love that. I appreciate that. Like, no. So that's it exactly. And yeah, so that was the second thing. It was structured. There were like templates, there were things, there were dates, there were, you could like follow it, gosh, it was self-guided, but you always were available as a resource. And I loved that. I loved that so much. I remember I used to like really shame poor Boom, like send you all these like long messages and be like, oh my gosh, I just had a brainwave, blah, 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 blah. And you were so responsive and so generous in your responses. And I love that so much. And the third one is exactly what you had mentioned now, that like I could see that you were not only devoted to the course itself, but you genuinely cared about the work. You cared about the work. And you were so, what I love about you is, and I think we've spoken about this quite a bit, that you are execution, like execute. Like you don't play. Once you've made the decision and you're resolute, you execute. So I'm a little bit more mellow in that way. And I'm like, okay, let's think about it for 20 months, But I love that. That was so complimentary for me, and I think for a coach, for someone that's guiding you and leading you, you need someone like that. You need someone who's gonna nudge you and be like, no, you can do it, really do it. Like, go ahead, So that's what I really, really appreciated. I've been ever since, like growing as well, and moving into different spaces, gotten in touch with other mentors and other coaches and whatever. But I think for me, the purpose that you offered, the offering that you provided, it was so personalized. And literally, I was like, okay, this is definitely worth it. It wasn't, you were not estranged, it wasn't like how I feel with some lecturers, for instance, it really felt quite personalized and like you were really invested, and you wanted us to win. And you really, really believe that there's enough seats at the table and the pie is big enough for everyone to get a slice. And so that spirit comes through in how you do the work, and also how you not only present the work, but also how you interact with those that are on board alongside you. So I loved and appreciated that so much, so much. And that's why till today, I still recommend people, whenever I have my mentees and they hitting a little snag, I'm like, look, I know what you're doing. I know what you're feeling. I know a person. Yeah.
Listen, whenever I get a message from you, I'm like, oh man, God is so good. Because you send me messages a lot. Well, not a lot, maybe like once a year. Just to say, Mpumi, again, what you did with that program. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I love it so much. And a lot of my clients always reach out to me like, girl. So I really, really
No, it's a real thing.
But more
we should
than
start
that,
calling the Mpumi effect. Yeah.
love it. I am so proud of you. I am so, so proud of you. I love the
Thank
work that you
you.
do alongside your sister. Like, every time I see anything from you, I'm just like, oh man. And there's this thing of being intimidated by certain people. And I'll be very honest. At first, I was like, Vanessa, come on, no, man, no, not me. Maybe somebody else, not you for me. And the fact that I'm also a learner while I'm teaching, while I'm in the program, I'm also learning. And because I've opened myself up to, I'm not here to give only, I'm here to receive as well. These people are going to open me up to so much. They are going to help each other. So I think approaching it with that thing, we're all here to learn. For me, then has removed that because I've got people who are like 44 in the program. I'm like, I'm only 30 in a month. What do you want from me? And they're like, it's not even about that. It's about the offering. But when I got to a place of, listen, they are going to offer me something as much as I'm offering them something too. It really took all of that away. I'm proud of you. I know that you busy PhD, Iagu sugar.
Working on me very hard.
All of that with the work that you're doing, you remain one of my biggest and happiest and most proudest stories to come out of Purpose to Profession. And thank you for doing the work. One of the ladies was in the program was like, Bumi always used to say, there's a method to the madness. And I was always so frustrated, like, I don't want to do it. But every time I did it, I saw results. And you were one person who was like, it's uncomfortable. I don't get it, but I'm going to do it. And you did it. And you are reaping the reward. So thank you for proving the process that it doesn't just work for me, it works for other people too. But also thank you for affirming me and recommending me and just being the great person that you are. I'm proud of you and God continue blessing you.
Thank you so much, Booms. All the best with the work and with the new cohort. I'm very excited for all the winning stories.
Excited too. If you want to stick around, you can. But if you want to leave, you can do that as well. Thank you so, so much.